Stop pretending everything is fine. It's not. You're being lied to. Your economy is rigged, your food is fake, your freedoms are evaporating, and while you scroll, something massive is about to hit. And most Americans will never see it coming. The Federal Reserve just pumped over $9 trillion into the banking system since 2020. Yet somehow your rent's doubled, eggs are up 31%, and over 61% of Americans now live paycheck to paycheck. Nearly 400,000 migrants crossed the southern border last month alone, while cities are collapsing, jobs are vanishing, and digital currency trials are already underway. The infrastructure for total control. Crime is exploding in places that used to be safe. Corporate layoffs are accelerating. A new AI surveillance bill was just signed that lets the government track your online behavior in real time, and no one said a word. America isn't in a slump. It's being dismantled piece by piece. And while most people are still debating over politics and pop culture, the entire machine is getting ready to flip the switch. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what they're hiding, why things feel off, and why so many people are furious, for good reason. Stay with me, because by the time this ends, you'll realize you're not crazy. You're just finally seeing the truth. Cities are collapsing quietly, and the headlines are just calling it renovation. You ever walk through a downtown lately and notice how it suddenly looks like a ghost town wrapped in scaffolding and coming soon signs that never actually lead to anything coming soon? Here's the thing. Nobody's saying out loud. Half of these cities are in a soft collapse, economically, socially, and culturally. And the powers that be are putting up plywood and pretending it's progress. The data backs it up. Office vacancies in San Francisco hit 36.6% in Q2 2025, and they're not bouncing back. It's not just a post-pandemic lull, the tenants are gone. Remote work won. Corporations figured out they can hire overseas for pennies on the dollar and avoid the labor lawsuits entirely. Now landlords are stuck with high-rises full of rats and deferred maintenance, and the banks that back those commercial loans? They're sitting on ticking time bombs, just waiting for a chain reaction of defaults. This isn't just San Francisco. It's Baltimore. It's Portland. It's Chicago. It's cities that used to buzz with nightlife and now whisper with crime, boarded windows, and a lingering sense that something broke and nobody fixed it. Look at the NYPD's numbers. Felony assaults on the subway are up 53% since 2021, and they keep pushing this line that rider confidence is returning. No, it's not. People are avoiding public spaces, but the mayors are focused on renaming parks and installing rainbow crosswalks like that's going to fix systemic urban decay. Nobody's fooled. The middle class fled to the suburbs. The rich took their money offshore. And what's left are working-class families trying to dodge carjackings while the city council argues about banning plastic bags. But the scariest part is that it's being normalized. Downtown is dying, and they're calling it revitalization. But there's no one left to revitalize it. Just hollow glass towers filled with empty conference rooms and security guards watching ghosts. They're weaponizing weather, and you're not even allowed to ask questions. You want to see something weird? Look at the climate maps from just 5 years ago and compare them to now. It's not subtle. Entire zones are experiencing temperature spikes that don't fit any historical pattern. But here's the kicker. The moment you even suggest that someone, somewhere, might be meddling with the weather, you're labeled a conspiracy theorist. Meanwhile, the US government has over 45 documented active geoengineering research programs, and DARPA isn't even hiding it anymore. Cloud seeding is old news. We're talking stratospheric aerosol injection, using jets to disperse reflective particles to cool the planet, which, by the way, has never been tested at scale, except it is quietly, globally, and without consent. In 2023, the White House released a report saying geoengineering could be part of a climate solution. In 2024, Harvard's ESCOPEX project was quietly greenlit again after being halted, and yet, farmers are reporting crop failures that don't align with droughts or floods, but with strange cloud patterns, sudden microstorms, and unseasonal frost events. The food supply is shifting, not just because of natural weather patterns, but because someone's playing climate Jenga with technology they barely understand. And we, the ones footing the bill with higher food prices and lower crop yields, are told to shut up and recycle. Eggs up 31% since 2022. Orange juice futures at an all-time high in 2025 because of citrus blight worsened by climate disruptions. How is nobody screaming about this? Because the media turned geoengineering into a joke. But you can't joke your way out of failing crops, exploding insurance premiums, or thousand-year floods happening twice a decade. People aren't dumb. They feel it in their bones. Something's wrong. But every time you ask the wrong question, some fact checker in Brooklyn tells you it's all just nature being quirky. No. Somebody's pushing buttons they shouldn't push. And they're doing it in the name of saving the planet. But from what? And at what cost? The Federal Reserve is building a financial prison, and you're about to be locked inside. This one's going to piss you off. While everyone's glued to the price of gas and eggs, the Fed has quietly rolled out the groundwork for a central bank digital currency. And no, this isn't just some niche finance story. This is about total control. You think you own your money now? Wait until it's programmable. FedNow launched in July 2023, advertised as a faster payment rail for banks. Cute name. Sounds harmless. But what it really is? The plumbing for a fully traceable, fully controlled dollar that can be turned on or off depending on your social trust score. And it's not some sci-fi theory. The Bank for International Settlements already published white papers in 2024 about tying digital money to identity, carbon limits, and, I wish I were kidding, vaccination status. That means if your behavior doesn't align with recommended guidelines, your money might just stop working at the grocery store. You think I'm exaggerating? Look at Nigeria. When their citizens resisted the CBDC rollout, the government literally cut off cash access at ATMs. Here in the US, Bank of America is already closing branches at a record pace, over 160 shut down since 2022, and Chase just announced they're going cashless at some branches. Meanwhile, MasterCard is working on carbon tracking cards that decline your purchase once you hit your monthly limit. This isn't about convenience, it's about obedience. And once we're inside the system, forget opt-out. Your money will have an expiration date. You'll spend what they say when they say or not at all. They'll call it anti-fraud. They'll call it climate action. They'll call it equity. But it's a cage. And they're laying the bricks right now while the public scrolls through TikTok and argues over pumpkin spice. The financial freedom you thought you had? It's being deleted in real time, and with a smile, a buzzword, and a QR code. Your groceries are being shrunk, repackaged, and poisoned, and the labels are lying about it. Look, I don't care how many times you've heard about shrinkflation. It's not just about smaller cereal boxes anymore. This is full-scale consumer betrayal, and the kicker? They're now legally allowed to do it. In 2024, the FTC walked back enforcement on deceptive packaging rules, citing supply chain disruptions. Translation: they're letting corporations get away with it because everyone's doing it. Have you noticed how your 32 Oz tub of yogurt is now 26 Oz, but the price went up 12%? That's not a mistake. That's the new normal. But it gets worse. The ingredients are changing too. Kellogg's, Nestlé, and General Mills are quietly replacing real ingredients with synthetics and gene-edited additives. And nobody's talking about it because the USDA gave the green light to bioengineered labels that don't even require disclosure unless the modification exceeds 5% of the food's DNA. That's right. You could be eating lab-grown emulsifiers and never know it. And while people panic about processed foods, they don't realize 70% of the U.S. food supply is now ultra-processed, meaning it contains ingredients that don't occur in nature, period. Red dye number 3 is still legal in the US, even though it's banned in the EU for causing cancer in lab animals. Meanwhile, parents are pumping that into their kids through gummy snacks and birthday cakes. Tyson is rebranding its lab-grown meat project as sustainable protein. What does that mean? It means they're growing meat cells in bioreactors, mixing it with stabilizers, and calling it chicken. And if you think you can just read the labels, good luck. The FDA's new traceability rules don't apply to processed foods, only raw produce and seafood, which means your bag of healthy veggie chips could be half plasticized starch, but it's up to you to figure that out. They've made food confusing on purpose because confused shoppers don't ask questions. And now, we're all being slowly sickened, while they sell us the cure in pill form, right next to the checkout lane. The border is not just broken, it's being deliberately overrun to collapse the system. Let me be real clear about this. What's happening at the border right now is not just a humanitarian crisis, it's a logistical ticking bomb. And whether you're red, blue, or politically homeless, you should be furious. Border Patrol reported over 2.5 million encounters in FY 2024, with 500,000 gotaways. That's 500,000 people who crossed the southern border and vanished without any record. No background checks, no medical screening, no fingerprinting. And you want to know the craziest part? The government is flying them all over the country. Literally. The CBP's own documents confirm late-night charter flights from border states into cities like Chicago, New York, and even rural areas in the Midwest. Not refugee camps, not detention centers, just dropped into bus terminals with a court date years from now. Meanwhile, New York City spent $4.6 billion housing migrants in hotels in 2023 alone, and Mayor Adams is begging the White House for federal aid because the system is overwhelmed. Schools are collapsing under the weight of non-English speaking students. Local clinics are overbooked. Small-town ERs are reporting wait times over 14 hours in places like El Paso and Tucson. And that's just the infrastructure. Let's talk crime. FBI gang task forces have flagged cartel presence in at least 23 major cities, and fentanyl seizures are through the roof, over 27,000 pounds in 2024, enough to kill every American multiple times. This isn't about immigration, this is about destabilization. These aren't just poor families looking for a better life. Many are. But mixed in, gang members, military-aged men, Chinese nationals, Iranians. The Border Patrol Union says it best. We have lost operational control. And the average American? They're told to feel guilty for noticing. You say something, you're racist. You object, you're a bigot. But when your kid's school is overcrowded, your taxes are up, and your neighbor gets stabbed at a bus stop, guess what? You don't feel racist, you feel betrayed. The job market is a lie, and millions are about to wake up unemployed overnight. Here's a stat they don't lead with on CNBC. Over 40% of U.S. jobs are now exposed to some level of automation or AI risk, according to Goldman Sachs. But what they don't say is how many are already gone. The job market numbers are cooked, flat out. The unemployment rate says 3.9%, but that doesn't count the 8 million plus who've left the workforce or work part-time because they can't find full-time employment. Go look at LinkedIn. You'll see MBA grads applying for 18-hour jobs at Costco because the white-collar collapse is already here. JP Morgan, Amazon, Meta, and UPS laid off a combined 145,000 people in the last 18 months. Why? Because AI does admin work, coding, legal reviews, and even marketing better, faster, and without lunch breaks. And the kicker? These corporations are celebrating it. You've got CEOs on earnings calls bragging about operational efficiency through generative automation. That means firing people. And here's the really dark twist. This was the plan. The WEF, IMF, and BlackRock have all published papers since 2022 promoting reskilling, which is just code for telling you to become a digital janitor for the same AI that took your job. Want to know why the economy feels off, even though they say it's growing? Because GDP is rising on the backs of artificial labor, not humans. And people feel it. They're applying to hundreds of jobs with no callbacks. Half the workforce is freelancing, not because they want to, but because nobody's hiring full-time. And when the AI economy finishes absorbing retail, transport, clerical, and manufacturing over the next 2-3 years, we're going to see an unemployment wave worse than 2008. And here's the part that'll burn you. Congress already knows. That's why they passed a $25 billion AI research package in 2024, but haven't passed a single meaningful worker protection bill since the pandemic. You're being replaced, and they're calling it innovation. Kids are being raised by screens, and nobody's talking about what it's doing to their minds. Nobody wants to talk about this one because it's too uncomfortable. But deep down, every parent knows something is wrong. Walk into any restaurant, doctor's office, or even a church, and what do you see? Toddlers in strollers glued to glowing rectangles while their parents scroll their own. It feels normal. It's everywhere. But it's not okay, and it's not harmless. By 2025, the average American child spends over 6.7 hours per day on a screen, with some children hitting 10+ hours. And that's outside of school. You think that's entertainment? It's a rewiring process. Pediatric neurologists have started warning about TikTok brain, a condition where attention spans are deteriorating to the point where kids struggle to finish a sentence without zoning out. A 2024 study by Common Sense Media found that 1 in 3 teenagers say they feel addicted to their phones, and 67% admitted they use their devices as an escape from stress and anxiety. But it gets darker. Dopamine response levels in the brains of heavy social media users, particularly kids, mirror those of drug addicts. We are raising a generation that's never been bored, never developed patience, and never learned to sit still without being rewarded by the next swipe or ding. You think this is just bad parenting? Think again. These apps are built by teams of behavioral scientists hired by big tech to keep your kid locked in. YouTube's autoplay is designed to remove decision fatigue, which means kids lose track of time and binge 30 videos in one sitting. Meanwhile, child content is being farmed out to AI engines that churn out deranged algorithmic cartoons with disturbing undertones. And the schools? They're not helping. They're giving out iPads like candy and calling it digital literacy, even though screen-based reading comprehension has declined by 19% since 2019. This is the first time in human history we've outsourced child development to machines. And we're acting like it's a cute parenting hack. But one day, these kids are going to grow up and they won't be okay. Surveillance is no longer hidden. It's just marketed as convenience. When did Americans start voluntarily installing spy devices in every room of their homes? Oh, right. When they started calling it a smart home. Amazon sold over 100 million Alexa devices by 2023, and nearly half of U.S. homes have some form of voice assistant listening 24/7. Think that's harmless? The FTC fined Amazon $25 million in 2023 for storing children's voice data after parents deleted it. But that's just the tip. Your Ring doorbell, it's not just yours. Amazon has shared Ring footage with police without user consent more than a dozen times. And that's just what they admit. Google's Nest, Apple's Siri, Samsung TVs, even Roombas. They're all part of an expanding Internet of Things surveillance network that sees more than you think. In 2024, leaked internal documents from a major telecom revealed that user metadata from smart appliances is routinely sold to ad brokers and insurance firms. Your fridge knows when you open it, your TV knows what you watch, and your thermostat knows when you leave the house. And they're feeding that data upstream. You're being profiled in ways that make Facebook's old scandals look quaint. But here's the real kicker. The government doesn't need to install spyware anymore. You bought it. You plugged it in. And now, there's no warrant needed. Thanks to the third-party doctrine, anything you share with a private company, whether it's Alexa recordings or Fitbit Heart, rates can be accessed by federal agencies without your consent. And let's not forget about the cars. Modern vehicles collect up to 25 gigabytes of data per hour, including GPS, voice, biometric, and even emotional data based on facial recognition. GM, Ford, Tesla, they're all building consumer dossiers for resale. One misstep, one flagged behavior, and you might find your insurance canceled, your credit downgraded, or your phone mysteriously locked out of your banking app. We're not living in a surveillance state. We're living in a surveillance economy, and freedom is just a subscription you forgot to cancel. America's medical system is collapsing, but it's still the most profitable business in the country. This one makes people's blood boil because they feel it in their bones, literally. You go to the doctor with a real problem, and what do you get? A 12-minute appointment, a shrug, and a bill for $367. The U.S. spent $4.7 trillion on healthcare in 2023, more than any country in human history. Yet life expectancy in the U.S. declined again in 2024, now hovering around 76.4 years. behind Costa Rica, and just above Albania. How the hell does that make sense? Here's how. Healthcare in America isn't about healing, it's about billing. Hospitals are profit centers now. CEOs of major hospital systems routinely pull in $10–15 million salaries while ER wait times stretch into the 9-hour range. Want to know why? Because 61% of hospitals are now owned by private equity firms who cut staff, merge departments, and boost charges to juice returns. Your nurse isn't overworked because of COVID. She's overworked because Wall Street cut her department in half. And Big Pharma? Don't get me started. Ozempic, a drug originally meant for diabetes, is now being marketed for weight loss at $100 and $300 a month, while Novo Nordisk's stock skyrocketed 58% in 2024. Meanwhile, the FDA quietly reapproved over 20 drugs that were pulled in the EU for safety concerns. Why? Because pharma pays. Lobbying from the pharmaceutical industry topped $382 million in 2023, more than oil, guns, and big tech combined. And your doctor? He's getting consulting fees from drug reps who schedule catered lunches to push the latest overpriced inhaler. It's not medicine. It's a cartel in lab coats. And health insurance? Just a middleman mafia. Deductibles are rising faster than wages, and now even people with insurance are crowdfunding surgeries. We're the only country on earth where medical debt is the leading cause of bankruptcy, and yet we call it the best system in the world. No, it's a meat grinder, and people are waking up to the fact that the system isn't broken. It was built this way, on purpose. We're being prepped for war, but this time, it won't stay. Over there. You feel it, don't you? That eerie calm? That way politicians are smiling on camera while quietly approving $2.3 trillion in new defense spending through 2025, the highest in U.S. history, even adjusted for inflation. Bigger than Iraq, bigger than Afghanistan, but there's no draft, no widespread rallies, no clear enemy. Just this quiet, constant drumbeat in the background. Taiwan, Ukraine, Red Sea, AI cyber warfare, satellites being tested. But what they're not telling you is that this isn't shaping up like the wars of the past. This one might come home. In March 2025, a leaked briefing from the Pentagon's Strategic Futures Group detailed a chilling term: Homeland Theater Readiness. That's code for, we're not just training troops to deploy, we're prepping logistics for domestic disruption. Think about it. Why are major U.S. cities doing joint drills with NATO logistics teams? Why did NORAD increase its satellite surveillance over American airspace by 400% in 18 months? Why are everyday cargo routes being used to simulate emergency resource movements in the event of cybergrid instability? Because something is moving behind the scenes. Look at the data. Cyber attacks on U.S. infrastructure are up 89% since 2021. With energy grids, food supply chains, and water systems being targeted repeatedly. In 2024 alone, 4 separate water treatment plants were hit by foreign malware that nearly poisoned drinking water. That doesn't make the news cycle for long, though. Doesn't fit the narrative. But here's the kicker. Homeland emergency food stockpiles are being rebuilt at triple pace, quietly, under FEMA's Strategic National Stockpile. Yet grocery store reserves are thinner than ever. We're exporting food to war zones while the USDA says the U.S. now has less than 21 days worth of food per household on average. And what's happening to our troops? Thousands are being quietly reassigned to training exchanges in Eastern Europe, Israel, and the Pacific. While military recruiting is so desperate, they just raised the age limit to 42 and started running ads on TikTok. You don't escalate global tensions, break every budget ceiling for defense, test emergency martial law simulations, unless you're expecting a scenario where the war isn't thousands of miles away, but in your grid, your supply chain, your bank, your city. And yet, most Americans? Going to football games, planning vacations, scrolling through dance videos. Why? Because distraction is policy. Dissent is being throttled. And the calm before the storm? It's not an accident. You weren't imagining it. The pressure you feel, the anxiety in your chest, the sense that something huge is just beneath the surface. It's real. America is acting like everything's business as usual. While cities decay, food turns synthetic, AI replaces your job, and invisible systems tighten around your every move. And the worst part? They're banking on your exhaustion. They want you numb, distracted, too tired to fight back. But here's what they didn't plan for. People are waking up. In droves. They're asking questions they weren't supposed to ask. They're noticing the patterns. And they're connecting the dots faster than ever before. So if something in this video lit a fire in you, don't ignore it. Talk about it. Share it. Prepare for it. Because silence is how this madness wins. And you were never meant to go quietly. Let me know what hit you hardest in the comments, what you've seen, what you're noticing. Because when it all breaks wide open, and it will, the people who are paying attention now will be the ones standing when everyone else is too stunned to move. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp. Stay loud. Stay free.